Hey guys, I'm in a really bad place right now and I need your help. But I should give you some context before I begin. I come to India once every 8 years for a pilgrimage. We have many highly worshipped sages buried in small towns and villages in India, and every so often it is encouraged to visit their graves and pay respects to them. In its entirety, I would say the whole experience is quite spiritual and fascinating. Our sages are not buried in a cemetery, but rather large white temples with clean marble floors. It's really nice to sit in these temples and pray, or even just to think. Surrounding these temples are usually lusciously green gardens and many arrays of animals such as peacocks hopping around and coexisting with nature. Even if you're not a religious person, you'll find a certain kind of serenity and calm here. There's this one town in India that's called Galiakot. It's in Rajasthan and it's really quite far from the main city. It's one of the center points for these pilgrimages, and if you're on this Indian pilgrimage route, it's a must to visit this place. So, like I said, I come here once every 8 years. Coming from the West, I love the whole idea of culture and color that I often see in India. It's so different and fascinating. But this is the first that I'm actually experiencing everything. When I last came, I was 13, and my memory doesn't do much justice to my previous experiences. Back to Galiakot. I'm here right now. And I'm terrified because this place is known for spirits. This is not tacky, and trust me when I tell you that this is 100% true. The villagers who live in this area get possessed very frequently and in large number. No one knows the exact history or the reason for this because this has been going on for so long, and there are so many different versions of the house and events that people share their most distorted versions of the story. I'm here with family members, and when I asked my parents, they didn't quite know either. But this isn't one of those things you hear of and don't really see. No, yesterday, on my way to breakfast in the village shops, I passed four women who were just sitting on the corner of the road, violently shaking their hands. Keep in mind that this is a village, so there aren't large constructed roads, just a dirt path actually. People were passing them, talking, doing their street shopping, giving them absolutely no more than a glance. You'd think they were drugged or just homeless, but this happened today morning again, this time with two men and one child. The child had a lemon between her teeth, and one of the men was crawling around like a spider on his horse. Look, it's a far off village in India, and there's undoubtedly some crazy shit on all corners of the earth. We live in concrete jungles, so we really don't know what the hell goes on with the rest of the world. I'm sure it takes one more than 24 hours to get used to this sort of phenomenon, but I'm sure I eventually will. But that's not why I'm writing this. I've been in charge of my 10-year-old cousin since we've arrived 3 days ago. Why I'm terrified is because she's been missing the past 4 hours. Now, if I were back home and she'd been missing for a whole day, I probably wouldn't have given a shit. But in the land of the free spirits where men are spiders, I think this is a cause for concern. My parents have gone to visit the temple today, and I passed on that because I thought I'd look around for her. I've been looking for her since 5 p.m. and it gets dark here around 6:30. There aren't many street lights, so I don't know what to do, and I came back to my room. I know this Reddit community is huge, and there's a lot of true stories on here from people with past experiences in the supernatural. I've heard a lot of crazy stuff and scary stuff that goes on in Galiakot, so I don't want to believe the worst. Where do you think she is, and what do you think I should do? I don't want to tell my family yet because they might freak, but I'm hyperventilating right about now. So the last 21 hours have been miserable to say the least. For 2 hours, I simply sat in my room and fretted, following a hunt around the area where I last saw her for the upteenth time. Going to the street shops during the day is fine. In the night, however, is a completely different story. These shops are basically stalls. Some don't even have a roof over their structures. Their pieces are laid out on wooden, flimsy tables, and they usually sell stuff like honey and dry fruits, the real cream of the district. You can't really shop per se, but it's really nice to look at stuff and pick out things that are eye-catching. As I said previously, the entire town is basically a dirt path. So when I tell you that these shops close 50 minutes before sundown, it's nothing less than a ghost town after that. Full pun intended. I'm going to take this opportunity to state that it was absolutely ballsy for me to go to that area at 8:30 p.m. I still can't believe I did that. But the most terrifying experience of my life happened when I did go. I cautiously entered the center of the town of Galiakot. It was dark, with one street lamp every 700 meters perhaps. It's quite windy this time of the year. Eerily, noisy gusts of wind that turned my stomach every few seconds. It was what happened next. I heard my cousin call out to me. I'm an only child. My cousin has been like my little baby sister from the time she was born. You often hear how siblings are completely opposite to one another. A missing trait in one is compensated in the other. It's the same with us. I'm a loudmouth. She's generally shy, quiet. When I heard my cousin, let's call her Maria, call out to me, all the cliched horror movie feels began to happen to me. My hair stood on my neck. Goosebumps rose all over my forearm. I admit I've never been more scared that moment in my entire life. Let's say you're trapped somewhere, someone's taken hostage of you, you have the opportunity to call out for help. What do? Yell in a sing-song voice? Almost like you're seducing someone? Or scream like the non-asked embarrassing preteen you are so the devil won't take you 5 feet underground away. Yeah, that's what she did. She was singing my name in a really eerie, unfamiliar way. It was her voice. But that's the only part I could recognize. Usually, any sound person would bolt from there in a matter of seconds. But I stayed only because I noticed something in the corner of my eye. There was a large tree in this area. I noticed this tree while on the way to the shrine the previous day. Although the tree was unusually large, every single inch of the tree was covered in colorful cloths that were nailed to the tree. It almost glowed. My mom told me that's how the spirits are trapped into the tree after a person is exorcised. Sitting by the bark of the tree was a woman in a red sari. She looked like she'd been to a grand Indian wedding, complete with heavy ethnic jewelry ornamenting her hands, ears, neck and nose. She was actually quite beautiful, and I realized she'd been watching me. When she noticed that I had gotten her attention, she stood up in one graceful movement and began to walk in the opposite direction. She turned her head around to look at me once more, as if to prompt me to follow her. For a few minutes, or it could have been hours, or it could have been seconds. It was like I lost control of my limbs. I wanted to follow her. I wanted to see where she was taking me. I wanted to be her friend. It wasn't until I reached the tree I realized I'd been walking behind her. Although there was a considerable amount of distance between me and her, I can't remember thinking about anything but her for the last few minutes. I was shocked at myself. But suddenly I began to grow aware of everything as I thought of Maria, and my instincts took over and told me to bounce. If it wasn't for the overwhelming thought of Maria, I think I would have followed her. But I ran. I ran back to my room, and when I got to my room, my parents and my cousin's parents were all there. "Where the hell were you?" my dad blurted as I walked in through the door. Time to face the music. "We've been looking everywhere," my mom started. "Okay, look. Before you guys say anything, I have to tell you that I'm truly sorry." I looked at my aunt and uncle ready to tell them all about Maria. I needed their help now, no matter if I've ruined their relationship with us. What I saw and heard today was not normal, and I knew something happened to her. My parents looked at me blankly, annoyed because I hadn't even acknowledged them. "Explain yourself," my dad shouted. "We called the motel owner, the people at the shrine, everyone. Why would you leave your room alone so late at night? Don't you know how unsafe it is?" Why were they worried about me? Didn't they want to know where Maria was? Weren't they looking for her? "But I was only looking for Maria," I said. "Look, we were only separated for 2 minutes when she went to use the washroom today, I promise." My aunt started laughing. "You can't stay a minute away from each other, can you?" "Yes, we were a little late to come from prayers because we have decided to have a light dinner by the shrine." "But that doesn't mean you could leave the hotel room at..." My mom looked at her watch. 10:45 p.m. In my head, I'm thinking, what? Maria was with you guys. Where did you find her? To shorten this conversation for you, my parents thought I was joking around, trying to shift blame of not being able to give them an answer of my nighttime stroll. Apparently, Maria was with my parents the whole time. While we were shopping this afternoon, the elders came to meet us at the shops, and once I'd made a bit of a fuss about going for nighttime prayers to the shrine with them, Maria had to oblige because she's like 10, and I went back to the hotel room. I told them I had a headache. I didn't believe them, so I went to Maria's adjoining room to check if I was going crazy or they were. Maria was fast asleep, snuggled ever so comfortably within the bed sheets. So who was with me before that? Before she went missing? Is this the real Maria? Was that the one holding my hand in the market? And that voice? The one in the streets? Who was that? How did it sound like Maria? Finally, who was that lady? Why did I follow her? And if I didn't snap out of it due to Maria's image coming to my head, then where would I be right now?